Yo, good morning and welcome to another episode of the Road FS podcast. And this is a week of amazing announcements. We had a phenomenal Tuesday episode, and today we have another amazing episode with a very cool announcement. I'm Jody.
I'm Rod Puzey, and today we have the honor of welcoming our friend Markus Parsley.
We knew that would get you.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show, man. We're excited to have you. So
I'm honored to be here, guys.
So IGL, man, you guys have had quite the year.
Mm-hmm.
You rolled out a whole new training program with all of your distributors. And now we're rolling into 2023, and you guys have something else really cool in the works.
Yeah. We here at the end of the month, actually next week, we're going to be up in just about an hour north of the big city of New York, and in the Poughkeepsie area in Orange County. I think it's Orange County up there, New York, taking care of a smaller Air Force One, former Air Force One aircraft, much in the same light that Rennie's crew does out west, you know, with the big thing that we've all been a part of, the AFO project out there. Yeah, we got a smaller version of that in New York with an airplane that was used by Ronald Reagan and George Bush and Stormin Norman Schwarzkopf to zip around and do some little stuff. So we're pretty proud that we got asked through one of our local installers up there. That's why I tell everybody all the time, networking is, you never know where it's going to lead.
Right.
One of their community colleges bought this airplane for a song to use as a training aircraft in aviation training, you know, and mechanics and maintenance and whatever. And Tracy and Glenn Erfer from Automax, they work at this little small airport up there, and they just watch this bird over time sit and get sad. You know, it's getting pawed and mauled and twisted on, but just didn't think that was a fitting thing for a presidential aircraft. Never mind whether you like the president or not, it's the office of the presidency, and, you know, we should be proud of our national heritage and stuff. And anyway, they approached them. There were some talks that went on, I guess, for a better part of a year, and it just got to Tracy and Glenn that bird was sitting there so in such disarray. One thing led to another, and they wanted to the school and Tracy and Glenn approached us about, hey, can we do something here for this?
Yeah.
And through a big push through the industry, and a big shout out to the AFO and Rennie Dole and Chris Woolman and his bunch, and at PNS, they were the first people to say, hey, you know, you guys support us out here. It's, you know, it's a presidential airplane. This isn't about a brand. Let's go fix this thing and preserve our natural heritage or national heritage, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're off and running.
That's really awesome. I mean, unlike the other project, this one is this one is, it's a smaller version, still carries the prestige of what's going on, because you know, obviously it had presidents that were in it, and that's kind of the same way we look at Air Force One. I mean, we've been involved in that project long enough that there's been multiple presidents in there, and none of them have been in that plane. So so you guys are in there, IGL's in there, you guys have a lot of sponsors. How long is the event going to be?
It's going to be over a period of 3 days. There's going to be, and we've made it a co-thing. Not everybody that's on this event has worked on airplanes. So we're going to take half a day on Thursday, and it's going to be classroom about safety and nomenclature and the nuances of airplanes. So they're going to
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Real quick, before we get too far into it, everybody go out and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we're going to be being able to post some of this stuff, and you'll be able to catch some of this stuff that goes on. You guys specifically, I know at least one of the people that's on this team that hasn't worked on an airplane is 12-year-old Stephen Thomas.
Yes.
Thompson. I get that wrong every time.
The detail kid.
The detail kid. That's the most.
Yeah, the detail kid. Yeah.
Really great guy. Very, very astute, listens really well. We've been on other projects with Steve and his dad, and they're great. So you get to take him on this, which is really cool, because we get to watch his career grow.
Right.
Some of the other people, how many people total are going to be working on the plane?
We've got 17 individuals.
Good crew.
That's a good crew for one aircraft. It's a G3, so you can still stack a bunch of bodies in one. Steve, and Steve, Dad included. It was kind of unique, because even though at Mobile Tech, we've all started to watch Little Stevie. I'm gonna call him Little Stevie. We've been able to watch him kind of start to take off and progress and get recognition. And it's twofold, because it helps him,
right?
But it also draws attention to what we all do collectively.
Yeah,
correct. And I think that sometimes we lose that with little Steve, and I call him Steven, but little Steve, his dad, Steven Senior, has detailed doctors, and he's been here years,
and he's amazing.
He's been doing this for years. He's certified
amazing.
So I think that we don't want to overshadow the fact that there's 15 other people that'll be on that plane that are doing this. And I think that as we watch, like you said, as we watch little Steve grow his career, and some of the other people that are on there, not just him, you've got other detailers that are going to be there that have been doing this for years, that have never worked on planes. And it's like anything. It's like the first time you ever detail a motorcycle or a boat or whatever, you're like, what the hell did I get myself into?
Right.
But there's a lot of differences on a plane. There's a lot of little areas that you don't think about, that you have to stand on your head upside down, and all that kind of stuff.
And protect equipment.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, because one of the things that's exciting to me about this plane is, I was watching the promo video for the school. They actually flew that plane in.
Right.
And so I think, unlike AFO in Seattle, that plane's not going anywhere, whereas this one can actually fly. And so the whole premise of making it a educational tool at the school for people to learn, avionics, mechanics, care, detailing, all that stuff, to me, that's what's really exciting, because it actually flies.
Right. Yeah. It was, I was an aircraft mechanic for years. So a lot of that part comes natural. And as an aircraft mechanic, your first year is spent learning how you learn the nomenclature is to rub on it. So you're a plane washer, essentially. But in the beginning, when in talking with Tracy, who, kudos to her, because she really spearheaded this, and she was like a dog on a bone. She wouldn't let anything go. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to reach out to some of the mafia members that deal with Rennie and Chris and the AFO project and all that. And Steve Senior, I guess, he uses some IGL products in his shop. So I thought, you know what? I'll give him a call. Not even thinking about little Stevie. And in the course of our conversation, both of us at the same time went ding, light bulb. Here's another thing. And I was like, listen, not for nothing, but we'd love to have you both up there, because originally we wanted all anybody working on it, we wanted them to have been through an aviation training somewhere along the way and have some background on it, because of the fact that this is a flyable airplane. This is a little different. There's a lot of safety and concerns and everything involved. But I also wanted the experience factor that the mafia members bring to the table. And so I reached out to him and a couple of others, and they were so willing to just jump in and say, yeah, absolutely. However we can lend a hand, we can clean pads for you or take a leadership role, whatever you want, So we're going to have this split up into much like they do out west, into little platoons that are going to go out and attack different areas, and they're going to be reporting to one person in that crew, and then that one person reports back, so we can make sure that everything's done in a timely fashion and a safe fashion. So yeah, it's been pretty neat.
Well, and it is, and I think people don't understand that, there's a big difference between me standing in my shop or my driveway and working on somebody's car. I really have the leeway of doing it the way I want to do it. I have my own process and everything like that. When you're dealing with a museum piece or a piece of history, and you're doing it at a public place, much like AFO, you have to have that discipline behind you to follow the leader, if you will, and do it the way that it's laid out. Because if you don't, it's just utter chaos,
Absolutely.
So, and I think that organization and that will really lend itself well in this particular project. And, hopefully this leads for you guys to be able to do some more historical projects like this. I love these kind of things because it not only, preserves and protects the actual airplane in this case, but it brings about some notoriety to it, and it makes people aware that it's out there, and it just helps preserve the history itself of it. There's a lot of people that I'm sure weren't even aware that there was, these airplanes are sitting around the country until, some of the detailers get out there and do this. And then you bring a lot of advertising and bring people in. So this is great. I think these are some of the funnest events. I know people look forward to doing this stuff all year because it takes them out of the monotony of doing whatever they normally do, and they get to go, really display their talent. So,
yeah, we, reflecting back to Rennie and those guys, they have got, you guys have been out there plenty. It's a monumental task. That is, that's chaos turned into poetry in motion. It's just a zoo. We have the good fortune of this being a small venue, one airplane, a controlled everything. Everything's controlled. And in the initial conversations, we were actually probably too relaxed. And then a couple months ago, the thought popped into my head after we put our crew together and everything. I went, we're operating in a live environment. There's a taxiway out there. There's a runway there. We're in a hangar that's used. There's going to be folks, it's a live airport that we're at. It's being actually it's going to be taxied or moved, trailered from, or towed from its resting place into the live area where it can be worked on. So we've got this whole safety thing and this professional protocol that we're going to, that's the reason we're having the class, and really and a lot of folks weren't aware, I kept that under our hat. They thought they were just going to be part of an event. And I'm like, no, you're going to have some real training and certification when you leave there now. And they're just some are just finding out through this podcast. Some are already aware, because Steve Thompson, him, he was beating me over the head, and I'm like, oh, maybe, possibly, perhaps, these guys, it's like they got crystal balls or something. But
there's some cool things to me that we've talked about today that I think are really important. Number one, you have such an iconic event over the last 20 years in AFO, right? And it's easy to get that event isolated from the industry and build such a strong brand about that. And I think it's really exciting that you were able to reach out to them and say, look, we have a similar opportunity to preserve history, to tell a story and give training, expose people to experiences that they've never had, and bring other brands into the thing. I think that is a phenomenal thing, because we always talk about trying to elevate the industry and try to clip some of the divisiveness that I don't understand why it happens, but it happens, right? So I love that aspect of the story. The other thing that I really like about the story is, unlike AFO, you guys are working in a real environment. So at AFO, we had to worry about tourists, and that was fun. We could step aside, we could talk to them, but you're dealing with planes taking on and off. You're working with taxiing. I mean, that is a different game.
Yeah. It is going to be different. I think the experience is going to, I think we're going to see some people rise from this. You'll see more names, and it's kind of, and I keep giving props to little Stevie, but really, take his name out of it. He, as a young man, that's what we were all been talking about for years, passing the torch, if you will.
Yes.
Right.
So we've got a new project, smaller, more recent aircraft than what we have out west, and a young kid. And so everything that we're trying to project is going to be involved there. You got the father, the family atmosphere. So the father and son, you have the young kid that's getting all this great training that he's a first IDA member. He's a certified, or first youngest IDA certified member and all that. So I think it's great to start promoting this stuff for what it is. And a quick shout out to Tommy Ramos and Rick Vanderlee. Never mind that Randy and Chris at AFO jumped right in and said, "Oh yeah, great idea. Let's go with this. Let's help you guys." And they have. They provided guidance and funding and everything else. But to reach out to competing brands, I like to say tongue in cheek, well, not tongue in cheek, factually, that when I first met Rick Vanderlee, he told me point blank he was the biggest a-hole that you'll ever meet in this industry. And he didn't flow with everybody else, and he didn't do all that. And he's, from the Netherlands, and he doesn't care about certain things that the way we think and whatever. And I want you to know it took him all of 15 seconds to say, "Where do I send my money?"
Yep.
And on top of that, he's flying in from the Netherlands for this little event.
So, and I think that's the best part about that is if you look at what you're saying, competing products,
mm-hmm.
It's because you're all working towards a common goal, and that's what's important.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like there was a competition to go get this opportunity. You guys went and got the opportunity, and then you've opened it up to everybody else. And I think that's wonderful. And I love to see that. I'd love to see more of this. I'd love to see more preservation work at different museums, because there's so many things out there that we could help preserve or take care of, or however you want to put it, that we're not doing right now. And there's just so many things you could go do. We had the opportunity to go to the Peterson Museum, and there's just, oh my God, you could spend years in there on the vehicles.
That was amazing.
And every year at AFO, there's only a handful of planes you can do. And I mean, you can choose a different era in that museum every year and never get to everything. So, I love the fact that it raises the industry up, and I think that's the best part about it. And I think, back to what Jody was saying about the divisiveness, it's that kind of stuff. It's these kind of events that are going to end that divisiveness. That's what's going to bring everybody together, and get us all working together. It's that easy to just reach out a hand and work with somebody that may or may not have ever used your product or our product or somebody else's product, but that's what it takes to do it. And I think that's what's great about what you guys do. You guys are involved in so much stuff at IGL. Some of the newer things you guys are getting into, the industrial and the, different industries, same idea, preservation, sanitation, stopping rust, all the things you guys are doing. I think that only lends itself to, they're the same thing, but a different industry, and they can all help each other out. So I tell you what, guys, I've got a new appreciation for what we all do through this little project and reaching out to folks, because initially, we've got some closer friends in the industry, and I pick up the phone and call them, and I always ask them, give me your initial knee jerk. Most of them were F you. Okay. Initial knee jerk.
because of what's been going on over the last couple of years. Everybody clamoring for market space, and clamoring for the microphone, for no better way to put that. And but within 10, 15 seconds of a conversation of why we're doing this, how we're going to go about it, there is not going to be any grandstanding. I'm not going to walk in with this shirt on,
Right.
We're all walking in with a uniform on that's going to have the FALCON ONE logo on it. We just happen to, through one of our installers, be the ringleader, if you will, of it. That's all.
Sure.
Well, and I think that's you've already given a shout out to Tracy, but I want to give a shout out to Glenn and Tracy Erfer. I mean, they're a phenomenal husband and wife team, right? Like you said, Tracy went after this with the bone. I mean, she's like, I'm going to get this and I'm going to bring people together. And it's that kind of passion that I think, and dedication, that helps elevate everybody.
Right. Yeah. We've had, we made our selections. We reached out to a few folks and made our selections. A couple people through logistics couldn't make it, scheduling. And then we went to our plan Bs. And then as the word started leaking out that we were reaching out, it was crazy, the amount of, emails and direct messages and texts. Hey, how do I get involved? Where can I go to a training? And, because that was initially, hey, you got to be trained on aircraft. We don't want to take the time we want to just be able to point and go. We don't want to have to go over, FOD and not having ink pens in your pockets and all this other stuff, that we're going to go over during this class, and then nomenclature of the aircraft. But we were actually going to schedule a aircraft training back in the summer, late fall, and things just kind of fell through, and the aircraft trainings cost money.
Yes.
You come to Lexington, it's $600 to come to Lexington. You go to aircraft training, you're going to reach deep in your pocket. And so the folks that are, everybody that's come to this, they're going to get that high dollar aircraft training the first day and in the first half of the morning when we go out on the plane itself. So they get that, and it was a surprise to them, which is great for them. I'm wearing the IGL Training Center hat. I probably got the lights probably killing it.
That's okay. Your head would be brighter.
True story.
You know it.
Oh, yes. God almighty. And that's what I thought of when I heard that little chime. I thought if I had my, you'd see all the there.
Yeah, exactly. Just like mine. So, well, this is going to be a really cool thing. I'd love to see the stuff like this become annual, where people love to see this become annual events where people can go and do this. And like I said, I just think it just elevates the industry. And that's part of the training too, is that, there's no BS when you go to one of these events. It doesn't matter if somebody that's next to you've had beef with before. This is not a place to, air that out. It's time to shake hands and work.
So go ahead. Sorry.
No, that I interrupted. I just wanted to take a moment and give you an opportunity to give a shout out to all of the sponsors, because I know a lot of people have come in late. So I want to take a moment and recognize those men and women and the companies that are pulling this together.
Oh Lord. There's some local cafes and stuff that the names escape me because my computer isn't working this morning.
Yeah.
And I should have texted Tracy, but latecomers, Barry Thiel and SB3 stepped up late. He's like, and contacted me, and he's like, dude, why didn't you call me? And I thought, okay, sorry, but we had a great conversation. They teased me about eating crayons again. And, but they jumped in late. Tommy and Rick Vanderlee with Angel Wax, they jumped in late. And a big shout out to Ian Ramelkamp, one of the quiet names in the industry.
Yes.
He doesn't He doesn't ask for anything. He doesn't. Hey, Ian, do you think how much you need and where do you need it sent to? Just instantly. He stepped up big because we've got a large demand for all that. It must be the list. No, there's a list of sponsors. Here we go. They're listening.
Go. Let's give them a shout.
Let's do that. And there we go. Yep. From the what do you call them? The mafia. A guy, Mike Patello with Duck Detailing. He's actually supplying the transportation, the passenger vans. So, nice. And that's a big task because he's going to Newark Airport to pick people up and shuttle them. Never mind from the hotel and stuff. And Billy Bogus stepped right up. Get his stuff in there.
Yep. ADG.
Yep.
ADG. SB3 Coatings. There's FPS or FBS. They supply pumps and sprayers, and so they supplied us with a bunch of sprayers and stuff. Fireball stepped in, and we needed leather coatings and all that, so they're supplying those. And what's really neat, understand we sell those too.
Right.
We everything that's being donated, and never mind they're sending money as well. So this is never about any particular brand. P&S Detailing Supplies stepped up. Angel Wax,
Plessy, Angel Wax.
Mm-hmm. And one of the neat things, there's going to be a lot of press on this, and even national press. I found out. Okay. But Easy Creeper Company has stepped up.
Cool.
Nice.
Those are some pretty neat creepers. They got a hefty price tag in them, but they do some neat stuff. So they sent us a couple of creepers and some funds. Detail Bookie stepped in.
Dustin Jackson.
And we had a great conversation with Dustin yesterday, and that's
he's really excited.
Very, very gracious person, and you're probably going to see us doing some stuff together in the future.
Awesome. I'm just glad that the industry's kind of taken that turn. It's like a big ship. Takes a while to get that big ship turned around. Yeah. We got to slow down and heading in the right direction now, I think. Yep. But they did step up. Auto Fiber stepped up, and listen, Rupes and Jason Rose. Oh my Lord! It was Sarah and Duffy, his people. They're stepping in. They sent a pallet.
Wow.
Yeah. So, the hard part was Glenn Erfer. He's into all that stuff, kind of like Mike Carlin, and into these polishers and stuff. And he's like, look at it, look, and it goes on forever. The stuff that they sent. He said,
that is awesome.
Yeah, good for them.
Thank you, Jason and Rupes team. That's awesome.
Yeah, they did and without hesitation. I mean, just very gracious. And then, of course, Joel and Jeff stepped in, from IGL, and they've donated cleaning supplies and some funds and all that. And I'm still trying to get Joel's black card for. But Paula's Runway Cafe. That's a local up there in that area. And there was one more. Gosh, but I don't see it. Maybe not. And Moose Designs. Anyway, an IGL installer who has a little side gig of making T-shirts and Detailer's Roadmap. He wasn't on this, so I'm glad I don't think he's showing up. I don't think I can handle that laugh on site. Christy Giovanni, he stepped up and he's buying lunch for everybody and all that. So
watch out for him, that Chris guy. Holy crap,
that's cool, man. Well, this is super exciting. You guys are going to be next week, Thursday through Saturday.
Yeah,
and, I think I might even drop in and say hello and do a little live broadcast. We'll probably tag team with the Detail Bookie podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And Rod's not going to come, but probably just me. And just got to decide which day to come, Thursday or Friday. So But yeah, no, it'll be fun.
Friday through Sunday.
Oh, Friday through Sunday. Tracy's correcting us.
Tracy, thank you so much for keeping us all honest, because really we don't know what we're doing. And if it wasn't for you, this podcast would be a complete
I mean, it's amazing we're an award-winning podcast with these jokers. I mean, it's like
I still can't believe it. That's why I keep the trophy on the desk, because I'm like, we won something for this crap.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though, guys, that's what makes you guys unique. You know, nobody knows what angle you're coming from. You know, people have asked me, do you have to prepare? And I said, some podcasts you prepare for. Theirs don't.
You don't prepare.
No,
we don't prepare anything. I'm serious. We've never prepared anything.
We want it to be a conversation.
We stood up in front of 4,000 people once, and we prepared like 30 minutes beforehand. And they're like, go up there and say some
30.
They're like,
I think it was like 10.
Yeah, they go up there and say,
here's the list.
Say some jokes and some stupid shit. We'll go, okay,
like, okay,
we can do that. I've been doing that my whole life.
We even say it in Spanish. What the heck?
Right. Yeah, it's like you guys alluded to. I genuinely hope that people take a hard look at what's going on. And I started to say what we're doing, not what we're doing, because I don't want people to think it's a brand, you know, they would associate that with IGL, but what this group is doing. And all these brands have got together and took their little brand hats off, and nobody's grandstanding, you know, anything like that. It's a free for all to just try to bring some unity back and make people, you know, along with a little national pride and, you know, wake up a little bit, have a feel good moment, maybe.
Absolutely.
You know, I like that you mentioned national pride, right? Because it's easy to get into divisiveness politically, right? And every time I've been to AFO, I've had an amazing experience. I'm looking forward to coming out and being part of this experience, right? It's a different aspect of history, but they align together, right? And we as people, we have different experiences, we have different backgrounds, but we align together. And that's what's important, is that we as a people align together for a common purpose, for the common good of each other and for the industry. And that's what's exciting to me, is to see all of these different brands come together and go, you know what, it's last minute. We have this great opportunity. Let's support. Right. And so I'm going to get on a plane and we'll come out and be a small part of it. I mean, a very small part of it. I mean, those people, I mean, Tracy and Glenn Urfer, shout out to you guys, IGL, Rupes, Angel Wax. I mean,
PNS, everybody we mentioned already.
I mean, and it's awesome.
And I think that's one of the things, like I said, I'd like to see it be a national or a regular thing. That way you can get more and more people every year. And because it allows everybody to showcase part of American history. And I'll tell a really quick story. I had an opportunity once. I have the AFO patch on my backpack, and I was walking through the airport.
Yes.
And a gal was just pissed off that I would have the presidential seal on my backpack, and she couldn't believe I was supporting that guy. And I won't tell you which guy it was she wasn't in support of, but I had an opportunity to turn around and correct her and say, did you get that last comment there?
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to correct her, and I said, first off, ma'am, this isn't supporting a person. This is supporting the country. This is supporting every president that has ever had the opportunity to sit in office and fly on a plane. And I'm proud of that. And I don't care who it is that's sitting in the back. It is something that people do with honor. You support your country, and you support the heritage that we have as a nation, good and bad. You take it all. And you just go forward and do what you need to do, always trying to make it better and not trying to make it worse.
Exactly.
And that, I think, is what these events do in a nutshell. That's how I feel about it. When I go to AFO, I am completely honored to be there. I've got family members in my background that are military, that do everything. And when I go there, that's what I'm thinking about. I carry a picture of my grandfather and my uncle from World War II in Vietnam. And I don't really care about anybody else's opinions, because I'm there for that purpose.
You two know, like I know, and the folks that go out to AFO realize, yes, it's hard work, and yes, it's fun, it's camaraderie, but it is a very humbling experience when you put your hands on the guys that are going to show up will learn and understand. And until you go and participate in something like that, you don't really know until you're there. So, and words couldn't even describe it, because I remember walking around, my first trip up there, and I looked at that one bird that was actually a bird that I had worked on personally and put my hands on. And Randy looked at me and he says, "What do you think?" And I was just streaming,
that's the thing is my grandfather, like I said, was in World War II and most likely went over in a B-17. And when we were there, one of the people actually allowed me to go inside and sit in the cockpit, and it was the same thing. I needed a moment, because when you realize what people have gone through to allow us to be who we are, the sacrifices that have been made to allow us to be the loudmouth pricks that we are.
Yes, sir.
That is what you have to be humble about, that, because that's what's done it for us, right? We get to say what we want. We get to do what we want. And that is part of our heritage. And I'm proud of that. And I'm proud that I've got family members that served and under all kinds of presidents. So it is a different experience. I don't think it's something you don't go away from that without having that personal moment where you realize what you're doing.
Yeah. It's, every once, it doesn't hit me every day like it should. We often say, you see a vet and you thank you, whatever. Thanks. Appreciate your service. Common things that come off our lips now. But coming in here and before this and thinking about the fact that it's a presidential aircraft, and what does that mean? Well, that means that as you and I are sitting here chatting about this and other people are watching it, some poor, I shouldn't say poor, but I were one a long time ago. So, I'll just say some poor slob is sitting in the desert somewhere or in a jungle somewhere that we're completely unawares of, that gives us the right to do this and to sound off and to disagree and to, to bitch and complain and do everything that we do. But as a nation, we've always got that back there. And I think we forget that oftentimes, yes, there's guys, and there's cemeteries full of guys that have given the ultimate sacrifice. But there's a kid somewhere, there's a mama's son somewhere right now that wanted to be home or wanted to be a part of this project or wanted to be, sitting with his girlfriend or his wife or whatever the case is. And yet he's sitting on patrol somewhere, away from here. And that's always humbling to me to remember that there's somebody out there longing to be here as we bitch and complain and carry on,
Yep.
Yeah. And the reverse, there are families longing for their loved one to be
100%.
home, right? I think a lot of times we miss that, right?
You're right.
It's not just the men and women who are sacrificing in the desert and in the jungle, dedicating their time, giving limbs and body parts and their heart, their soul, walking away with PTSD. And then they come home to families that are trying to rebuild. Right. And I've seen that on a very personal level. And I think, we need to recognize the men and women behind the men and women that do this. And that's why these events are so critically important, because it is not only a tribute to the presidents that have served and have been taken all around the world to serve on our behalf. It also is a tribute to the men and women and their families that make that possible.
Yeah. And it's a small piece that those of us that have never served in the military, when I go and do these events, I think of it as that's the only way I can give back. I can't go serve right now. There's no way at my age they're going to let me in. And so that's the only way I can serve, is to give back in these kind of things. And so that's, one of the first time we worked on AFO, I literally almost killed myself. I was just collapsing. I worked my ass off.
Yes, you did.
And we got done and Jody's like, "Man, you are killing yourself." And I told him at that time, I was like, this is it. This is how I give back. This is how I honor my family and everybody that's ever done this. So I'm going to do that every single time. So you give it 100%. Everybody that's going to this event, give it 100%. All the sponsors. And I'm proud of everybody that's going. And I think this is a great honor for everybody.
Yeah, I'm tickled to death. I'm excited to, not just to see a lot of folks that I've not seen since, for years, some of them, but since the last major event or major show or whatever, getting to get everybody together again. But this is a non-selling event. This is not a recruiting event. This is not anything like that. This is a place where we can all say, you know what, we're still here. Let's do something together now. We've been working, apart or against one another or whatever the case has been for the last little bit. But this is kind of a homecoming, if you will.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, we're super honored that you would allow us to have you as a guest to talk about this amazing event. Thank you. It's nice to be a small support. Shout out to the IGL team. I mean, you, Joel LaPalm, the entire team. Thank you guys for leading the charge on this and bringing together men and women from all across the country. I mean, cool. Team of 17. That's going to be super fun. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share? I just hope that, hey, it's springtime. I hope people start smiling a little bit more. Let's get out of this looking at turn off your national news. I'm with you there, man. I'm with you. So
turn it off.
Everybody have a great time. So like Jody said, he's going to be flying out there and do some live stuff in conjunction with Dustin Jackson from Detail Bookie. And I, on a personal level, I really want to shout out to Dustin. He's really opened the door for the software companies like ourselves and Detail Bookie to be more together. He reached his hand out. He was the first one to do that. And so I think the world of Dustin, and I'm glad that he's involved in this event. And like I said, look for us to do some stuff in the future. I'm really pushing to have Dustin and I do a joint event at MTE next year.
Interesting.
Of us. That way, because that way we can just kind of talk about the value of software and not really do it brand wise, but do it as far as technology
helping
in
your
general.
business.
I know he stands for that. He's not only a great detailer, a great guy. So I'm bummed I won't be able to be there, but Jody can handle that. He's fully capable.
Thank you for the confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, remember, this one's new. It's different. New York is not the easiest state to facilitate anything.
Oh man!
So I'm hoping that this greases the area there. There are some political figures that have decided last minute they want to stick their nose in. Never miss a chance. People running for election and re-election and whatever, and that's fine. Matter of fact, it's beyond fine, because I think it's time that maybe this is one of the little sparks that gets folks headed the right direction again.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Please remember to go out, like, share, and subscribe.
Yep.
And next week, I guess we're going to be doing live from IGL. There. So it's going to be super fun. I can't even say the city we're going to go. I just know I'm going to land. I'm going to rent a car and I'm going to drive.
It's in the Poughkeepsie area.
Poughkeepsie. All right.
Poughkeepsie.
I got it.
Yeah.
I should be able to say that. I speak Spanish, so I should be able to say that.
That's not Spanish. That's not even close.
I believe it's indigenous.
Yeah, it's an
indigenous
thing. So. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Shout out to everybody, and thanks for watching. And we will see you next week. And just with this guy.
See ya. Thank you so much, brother.
See ya.